We should never take impeachment off the table. We should never take where we see law breaking. We should never take accountability off the table.
This nonsense from like AOC that he should be impeached is just absurd. Absurd. There's no... Okay, get back to me when you've read the Constitution or get a law degree, because you sound like an absolute...
The entire room seemed to flip upside down the moment Megyn Kelly struck with a shocking revelation. This wasn't a casual return designed to grab attention. It hit like a scene straight out of a Hollywood spectacle, a full-blown explosion of unexpected drama. Normally poised and commanding the spotlight, AOC found herself completely unprepared, armed with nothing more than a fragile paper fan against a wildfire of scrutiny. The twist left everyone in the room speechless. No one saw it coming. After witnessing this extraordinary upheaval, it's nearly impossible to see AOC the same way again, as everything shifted in an instant.
There's absolutely no ground to impeach the president. He 100% was within his constitutional authority and his congressionally authorized authority to do what he did on Saturday. Okay, but as for whether it's a good idea, that's a debate we should be having. And look, you know, if we could get congressional approval of the specific action, fine, I'm okay with that too. If you want to bring it to Congress, go ahead and see how that goes. I don't think it's necessary. But...
Yet Megyn Kelly wasted no time putting AOC in the spotlight. What followed was far from cordial. The conversation quickly escalated into a heated clash, catching one participant entirely off guard. Kelly didn't stop at pointing out small imperfections in AOC's polished image. She dismantled the surface with the chaotic precision of a child, discovering scissors and transforming pristine wallpaper into a wild, tangled artwork. The audience was left stunned, unable to believe how sudden and intense the moment had been.
Let's see and see what she has to say.
Reaction on what's going on with Elon Musk and President Trump on Twitter right now.
Oh man, the girls are fighting, aren't they?
I think this breakup we've been seeing a long time coming, but we'll see what the impacts are of it legislatively.
Okay. You're so cool referring to them as the girls. She's above it all then. That's what she's trying to telegraph. You see, she's the adult in the room, the one out there who does a preacher accent, and she leans into her fake Latina accent, and she's the adult.
Under Megyn Kelly's piercing gaze, AOC transformed from her usual lively Instagram persona, sipping wine, chatting freely, and energizing her followers, into someone frozen, as if she just discovered the Wi-Fi password had changed mid-broadcast and didn't know how to respond. The audience watched in disbelief at how swiftly the shift occurred. This was AOC in her unfiltered reality. Rather than delivering precise facts or thoughtful analysis, her style often relies on raw sensation. It's reminiscent of TikTok drama, full of sweeping gestures and eye-catching reactions designed to captivate rather than inform. People aren't tuning in for deep policy insight. They're drawn to her ability to turn a simple 30-second clip into something that feels like a mashup of Broadway spectacle and a TED Talk. Every moment is meant to be daring, striking, and unforgettable.
True radical left, who's gone beyond all the identity issues. I mean, don't get me wrong, the person I'm going to show you is 100% wrapped in all of them, but like genuinely believes the Hitler fascist stuff, like is distraught because they really think Hitler just got reelected. Most of them were just pretending, but then there are the ones who genuinely believe it, like AOC.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemy.
Yet Megyn doesn't waste a second on theatrics. Even the boldest politician would have to rethink their stance under the sharp clarity of her scrutiny. And that's exactly what happened. AOC had assumed her performance would follow its usual rhythm: grand gestures, enthusiastic delivery, perhaps a dramatic comparison between unexpected credit card debt and climate change. Megyn, however, remained unimpressed. She dissected each point with meticulous precision, leaving AOC not as a confident lawmaker, but as a student nervously presenting a book report they'd never read. Megyn's approach was simple yet devastating. Clear facts, logical reasoning, and calm focus cut through AOC's theatrics faster than glitter through a washing machine. The audience wasn't just entertained, they were silenced. Megyn's quiet unraveling of AOC's entire presentation felt like trying to assemble complicated IKEA furniture without the instructions. And the strangest part? The woman hailed as the voice of the people, known for her humor, poise, and designer sneakers, suddenly seemed surprisingly ordinary.
See, has been out there on this, I don't know if it's campaign trail, I don't know what we're calling it, but this like fight the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, from which, venue to venue, she travels first class, sipping her champagne, in the first class cabin as the losers and plebs walk by to coach. They're the ones she's really fighting for. And she's decided to ramp up her anti-Trump rhetoric in a way she's done before, but that could be deeply problematic for her if Trump actually decides to pay some attention.
An Apple product launch might seem like a casual backyard project compared to AOC's carefully curated public image, but Megyn saw more than the small cracks. She flung them wide open for all to witness. Suddenly, AOC's flawless "I'm the future" presentation no longer felt destined. It looked more like a failed audition that accidentally aired on C-SPAN. This cut deeper than policy debates ever could. Megyn zeroed in on the performance itself, the very stage that others tiptoed around as if forbidden. She peeled back the curtain to expose the show beneath the surface while everyone else wasted time arguing talking points. Theatrical pauses, exaggerated emotional swings, and sweeping hand gestures. It was like pulling back the Wizard of Oz's mask to find someone with a fog machine and a microphone standing there. Once revealed, there was no going back. Half the audience laughed in disbelief, the other half froze in shock. AOC was likely feeling the weight of it all, despite a Brooklyn barista insisting she was still sharp. But none of that mattered anymore. The illusion had crumbled. Megyn proved that the emperor's missing wardrobe wasn't the only flaw, and suddenly AOC's supposed polish seemed expendable. Meanwhile, reports surfaced that she might be preparing a presidential run.
Report today that AOC may be getting ready to run for president, that her team is looking, and I know you've said she could potentially do it, but her team is looking at maybe Senate. Chuck Schumer is, I think, going to be 78 when he runs for re-election. That's really old, and the Democrats seem to get that now. Or she might just go for president. And at the same time, this happened today. The Republicans in the House introduced a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. It condemns the murder, and
the harsh truth hit like a thunderclap. Sophisticated rebuttals only land when backed by real substance. Without it, everything dissolves into noise, like the aimless improvisation of pure political jazz. This is where it stings the most. AOC may have counted on the usual playbook, playing the victim, rallying her followers, spinning the story with a few well-timed hashtags. But the rules of the game had shifted. While voters routinely ask politicians about policy, how often do they see the mechanics of the performance itself? Megyn's timing was flawless. She transformed AOC's biggest strength, her knack for capturing attention, into the very weakness that caused the unraveling. The gestures, the dramatic pauses, the daring delivery that once captivated the audience now felt like frantic attempts to maintain their interest. And in politics, as elsewhere, desperation reveals itself faster than anything else. Megyn didn't just win the conversation, she reshaped how people perceive AOC. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every time she steps behind a microphone, the so-called voice of the people is performing, like discovering your favorite action hero has been relying on a stunt double all along.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
Clearly saying that Donald Trump is a racist. Rapist. She also thinks he's a racist. He's all the ists. But here, she's in deep trouble because he was not found liable for rape, and George Stephanopoulos just had to pay ABC some $15 million to President Trump to settle a defamation.
Here's the real twist. Megyn wasn't even operating at full force. This was Megyn on a regular Tuesday morning, sipping her coffee while effortlessly dissecting a politician as if preparing for something far bigger. Imagine the chaos if she ever decided to fully focus her attention on AOC. It would be a masterclass in political dismantling, executed with a calm, almost mischievous smile. The internet doesn't forgive or forget once Megyn shines her spotlight. Memes erupt across feeds, late-night hosts scramble for punchlines, and staff behind the scenes scramble to contain the fallout, but it's always too late. At this point, AOC's only choice is to double down on the performance itself, perhaps channel all that jazz hand energy into singing show tunes on the House floor. At least then, people might laugh with her instead of at her. Yet, thanks to Megyn, the curtain fell safely, and the world started asking the hard question, was this all just a performance? The speed at which AOC's image flipped under Megyn's microscope was astonishing. She might mispronounce a policy term, stumble through an analogy, or make outlandish claims like suggesting the wealthy are somehow eating planets. The audience would cheer as if she just wrapped a Broadway number.
There's AOC, who said the following.
And beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans. Far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
Then she voted no. She refused to join in the resolution. Consequences to her politically for doing that?
I would love to have her run for president of the Democratic side. It's a contrast, right? What you see is what you get. If that's what you think can lead this country, is that where your values are? Is that what you think will continue to promote American freedom?
But Megyn wasn't there to applaud. The air practically hissed out of the room as she intervened, shattering the illusion. Performance politics depend on faith. The audience must believe in the act for it to work. Megyn methodically pulled every thread into plain sight with surgical precision. Picture AOC delivering her signature lines, arms conducting an invisible orchestra, eyes wide, pauses perfectly timed. Normally, the crowd adores it, but once Megyn exposed the choreography, every gesture seemed rehearsed, mechanical, almost robotic. It was like watching a magician repeat a trick. Once you know exactly where the card is, impressive at first, then painfully obvious, you could almost see AOC realizing it herself. Control is the backbone of her brand, regulating the impact, tone, and meaning of every gesture and glance, and Megyn revealed exactly how meticulously it was all constructed. Everything around AOC began to unravel piece by piece as Megyn stripped away her authority. Suddenly, she no longer seemed like a confident, bold leader. During a key moment, she looked more like a nervous actress forgetting her lines.
The reason this is relevant is because a congresswoman, who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently, she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl, and we eat Queens boys for breakfast," because that's where Trump was raised, in Queens. And respectfully, AOC. Well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5. The rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx, with all due respect to my friends in the Bronx. She's pretending to be a Bronx girl because she wants this to be part of her origin story, the same way as she wants now to be called Alexandria Ocasio.
The effect was amplified by Megyn's meticulous breakdown of the entire performance, highlighting each exaggerated gesture in turn. Clear antagonists are essential for AOC. She thrives when opponents seem like theatrical caricatures. But what happens when the opponent simply observes that the emperor is smiling and waving jazz hands in an empty room? There's no dramatic showdown, only stillness and the slow erosion of credibility. Megyn's supporters twisted themselves into knots in sprawling Twitter threads longer than novels, insisting Megyn was unfair, it didn't matter, or that AOC hadn't truly been exposed. Ironically, the more they defended her, the more obvious the damage became. If it takes a 42-part thread to argue otherwise, someone was clearly embarrassed. The final blow came courtesy of memes. On the internet, detailed explanations don't hold weight. It thrives on sharp, shareable moments, and Megyn delivered plenty. Set to circus-like music, clips of AOC's theatrical gestures looped endlessly, each motion unintentionally comical. Her drawn-out pauses became painfully awkward silences, making viewers squirm. Her frozen expressions were captioned with lines like Oscar-worthy drama, zero policy. Credibility isn't the only casualty online. It gets roasted, archived, and replayed endlessly. Suddenly, every gesture seemed forced.
Fourth place, not necessarily fourth place. This is just, I'm going to start with as the fourth possibility, but I've got 4 total and you'll decide what order they go in. I'm going to kick it off with AOC. Okay. Her real name is Sandy Ocasio. This is what she went by her entire life, Sandy Ocasio. And only when she decided to run for office did she decide to suddenly become Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. and lean into her Puerto Rican history, where her mother was born in Puerto Rico, but her father was born in New York City. And she decided to tell us sob stories about how she's from a poor family and she was living, paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, she was raised in a Tony part of Westchester called Yorktown Heights.
Every pause felt rehearsed. Every passionate appeal sounded less like genuine political discourse and more like a performance in a bad audition. In that moment, AOC's meticulously crafted image began to crumble. Her followers scrambled to defend her, while the media quietly acknowledged what had long been suspected. And through it all, Megyn remained unshaken, standing tall as the person who revealed the truth. The strange part, it wasn't even a real fight.